Welcome to F.A.C.E Tim Racette at E-Mini Mind.
Yeah, good morning. Great to be here.
Hey, Tim. Very nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Okay. Do you have a screen to share? Or you want me to show your website?
Yeah, I can pull up my charts here.
Okay, buddy. So I've been to your website. Looks like you have some type of relationship with Danny at Top Step.
Yeah.
I like the Strat. I like the Strat. Nice violin. Good logo. Trading's like good music, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even music is geometry.
Yes, absolutely. I'm a Chicago native myself, so
Okay.
I know some of the guys over there at Top Step, and
Where'd you go to high school?
Up in Antioch, way north,
Okay.
up on the Wisconsin border. Yep.
Oh, okay. All right. Near Kenosha?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. I grew up in Chicago. I went to Niles North, and then went to Northern Illinois University.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I couldn't take the winters, and I left for the West Coast when I was 23 for not margin calls, but women in marginal clothes.
Well, I'm out in Scottsdale, Arizona now, so I'm kind of right there with you.
Our CEO lives out there. So Tim, being from Chicago, I know a lot of us, new people in the business, and that's how I ended up in the business. A guy signed me on to the CME floor, the real old Merc when it was above Union Station. Could you tell us a little bit about your beginnings and entree into the industry?
Yeah, I got started down at the Board of Trade, and I had a friend whose dad worked down there, and the two of us would go down there and kind of hang out in the pits at first, or around the pits, and talk to some of the guys down there, and they were encouraging and discouraging. They were very encouraging us to be traders, but not in the trading pits. Things were starting to die. This was, not starting, they were dying. This was early 2000s, so definitely well into the computerized trading world. And
the conversion of the exchange trading floor into a bowling alley.
That's right. And those guys on the floor kind of put us in touch with a couple fellows who had been trading on the screen since the 80s. And they said, this is where you want to be, and kind of guided us towards the computerized world. And a lot of the guys in the pits had, machines outside of the pits at their desks, and would just kind of look at the charts and do their analysis, and then just go in the pits to put on some positions and manage some positions, and that was really about it.
The open outcry of trading against paper. A lot of guys had a very hard time making an adjustment from being a floor trader when there used to be a lot of paper to trade against. You really didn't have to be right directionally in the market. All you had to do was trade the paper flow, and they all knew where the stops were. And remember, there used to be roars. Maybe you came into it too late. There used to be roars when they would elect a group of stops over swing highs and lows. So, a lot of traders from the open outcry days couldn't make the adjustment. I learned how to trade off the floor just being a rep, and then I went to the floor, and I didn't like the out trade risk of being a member. So, what did you have any mentors for certain types of technical analysis? I'm looking, you use candlesticks and you have fibs up there. Who were big influences on you? Maybe they were authors, or are you completely self-taught?
I had a couple of, like I said, two fellows who were up in Lake Forest and Glenview, who had been trading mostly the ES and a few of the other indices since they were around for offering for computerized trading. And so they were pretty influential in just kind of setting some kind of setting a sandbox, if you will, some safety parameters on, okay, if you want to learn how to trade, here are some things that you really need to make sure that you don't do, so that you don't, dig yourself into a hole that you can't get out of. And
You ever blow? So because of that, I talk to a lot of people. I've done almost 1,000 interviews. You ever blow up an account?
no, and I attribute it
Congratulations.
to that, getting tied in with some really good traders who were able to kind of mentor myself and a
Who?
buddy of mine.
I'm curious. Who were they? Maybe I know them. If you
One
don't,
fellow, one fellow was Greg Schroden. They're not very public folks,
okay. All right.
so you
Okay.
may not know them, and they don't.
Yeah, I don't.
They're not very, um, they don't do a lot of mentoring to anyone, I guess.
Okay.
They were just
Yeah.
sort of folks that
You got
friends of
lucky.
friends, if you will. Yeah. So it was a really great opportunity. They put us, turned us on to things like the NYSE tick indicator, and encouraged us to keep things simple and really understand the price action, and really focus in on one market and one time frame to start, so that you could really understand the nuances and get to know the market that you're trading, and then be able to expand from there.
That's a pearl, Tim. Do you only trade minis, e-minis?
Now I trade other things, but primarily the e-minis, a little bit of currency. I also swing trade stocks, but in terms of the day trading side of things, yeah, mostly the e-minis.
Yeah, because a lot of people have the misconception. I teach it, know one market like the back of your hand and be a master of one instead of a jack of all trades. And I use the example of guys on the floor in the old days that never had to leave the cattle pit to go trade
Yep.
currency or anything else, and they did pretty well just trading cattle.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it's like to have an e-mini mind, especially during October?
So yeah, but
Great handle, by the way, buddy. Great handle.
Yeah. I always felt like the mindset was the important thing in everything that I was kind of striving towards. I participated in a lot of kind of mastermind groups and apprenticeship programs, if you will, when I was younger. Not necessarily all trading related, but just shadowing people who had been doing what I was interested in doing and becoming for 20 years, and being able
Wow.
to shadow someone in that role, whether it was woodworking or landscaping, or doing any sort of trade, all the way down to a skill on the computer. The same process applies. If you want to be excellent at something, you want to find someone who is excellent and sort of shadow and copy what they're doing. That makes a lot of sense. And so I felt like if I could acquire some of the, not just the intellect, but the mindset and the view, the way of looking at the markets, that I could be able to, you can develop skills, and you can read books, and you can learn about technical analysis and some of the other tools that I may use. But you really, if you don't have the proper mindset and approach, then none of that other stuff really matters. So
that's
why,
yeah, that's excellent. So you were modeling yourself. I say, surround yourself with people, traders better than you, and you were just modeling people that have already gotten to where you want to be. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel, do you? You just have to find the people that have already been there. You can't learn experience, Tim. I'm sure that even though you had all this, it still experiences a passing of time and living through stuff. But you could shorten that by learning from the experienced. It doesn't teach you experience, but it could shorten the cycle. Did you
That's
find that?
exactly right. You, no matter how much you learn something by reading about it, watching it, seeing it done, you still need to do it for yourself and go through the motions and make some mistakes to
Yeah.
really have it ingrained in your brain. If every entrepreneur out there knew what the journey was going to be like and how difficult it would be, nobody would start a business or go out and build some kind of company or start a venture. And so you need a little bit of that naivety. Um, you need to be a little bit naive in some respect, but you can shortcut not the experience part, but shortcut your way to practicing the right things. And whether, if you're an athlete, there's a lot of similarities between being a high performer in anything, whether it's trading or athletics or a trade. And you want to practice the right way as much as possible. So the sooner that you can get to practicing the right things, then the better, the quicker you'll be able to master that skill.
Okay, so after the naivety goes away because you're in it, you have to replace that with, I believe, perseverance.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably the number one thing that has got me through trading. Over the years, I've seen a lot of people come and go, and I've been fortunate in a lot of ways. Not fortunate in a monetary sense, in that I was handed a bunch of money, but fortunate in that I've been given opportunities to be exposed to the trading floor and being introduced to these great trading mentors, and had the ability to follow and really continue down the path of trading without a whole lot of distractions. Whereas maybe if I came into trading when I was 45 or 50, my mind may be sort of split between trading in a family or trading in something else. And not that it
Oh,
can't be done with all kinds of other
yeah,
outside
yeah.
forces, but
Never thought of that.
when you
Yeah.
have a focused intellect, or when you're going through the process of learning something new, the more focused you can be and more sort of all in you can be, the quicker you'll be able to adapt and pick up on a lot of the nuances, as opposed to if you're trying to learn the violin, for example, and you're just practicing an hour a day. The first 15 minutes you might just be sort of remembering what you were working on the prior day. But if you're practicing for 5, 6, 7 hours a day, it's like you're thinking about it the entire day, and you're spending a lot more time working on those specific skills that then just become second nature. And trading is a lot of the same way. You practice things consciously, you look at the markets, and then all of a sudden some of this stuff starts to become second nature and ingrained in your subconscious. And that
Okay.
really helps to sort of build confidence as you go.
Okay. So I see your setup here, Tim, and I've been to your website. Do you only trade for yourself, or do you have a service? Do you teach? Do you send out signals? What do you do at E-mini Mine?
So trading wise, I only trade my own money.
Okay.
When I was younger, I worked for a financial advisor, and that showed me that I wasn't really interested in trading other people's money. And I wasn't really interested in the client side, more of the trading side. So yeah,
Okay.
I trade my own accounts at E-mini Mind. It's more about sharing my thoughts and having an outlet for communicating with other traders. Trading is pretty lonely at times, and it's nice to be able to throw out some ideas or share something that I'm working on and get some feedback. And so I've got a group of traders over at E-mini Mind where we kind of work through trading strategies and things together. I do a what I call a live trading room on Tuesdays, which is basically just me sharing my charts and answering questions and just kind of having a open door to my trading room or to my
Is
trading
there
screen.
do you believe in the phenomena of turnaround Tuesdays?
Just in terms of the market opening Monday and then changing direction
Yeah.
or turnaround.
Like normally, you whatever way you close on Friday, if it's strong, you normally get follow through early into the week, and a lot of reversals I've seen happen on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've found that Mondays and Fridays can be a little bit of outlier days. Tend to get a lot of gaps on Monday just because of the markets being closed over the weekend, and you have a lot of mergers and acquisitions and things like that occurring on Mondays. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I've always noticed being the days where I trade more or have more trades.
Right.
I kind of try and ease into the week Monday and then ease out of the week on Friday just to kind of start on a good note and end on a good note. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is probably where a meat of my trading occurs.
Okay. Do you is it mainly day trading the S&Ps? Do you ever see time frames where swing trading in the S&P or even position trading becomes compelling to you?
I don't do a lot of swing trading and overnight. I don't do really any overnight trading in the futures markets, but I will do that in the underlying. So if I was really interested in swing trading in indices, I would just buy or sell the ETF. But I do a lot of swing trading. Yep, that's right.
Okay.
I do a lot of swing trading with individual stocks, and I find that it's a nice balance. That's kind of how I got my start in terms of trading. When you start with trading off of daily bars, it really forces you to slow down. You got to wait for the entire day to close before you can really make an assessment on, do I want to buy, sell, or hold my position? And it forces a lot of good habits. And so in the first year or two, I only was swing trading, and then I began day trading after that.
What time frames you use for trading the E-minis? I'm curious how short term you go.
Yeah. I'm using a 512 tick chart, and it's not a very popular chart. Most people are using a 3, 5 minute, 15 minute, a time-based chart, and that chart is on the right here, and just by looking at my screen, there's not a whole lot of differences in the look of the tick chart versus a time-based chart. But essentially what's happening is, instead of 5 minutes going by and then a candle closing, if I was to be using, say, a 5-minute chart, the 512 tick chart is closing after a certain number of trades occur. In this case, 512. And so in a time period like right now, where the markets, the NYSE is not open yet, the candles are going to form slower. There's not as many trades occurring. And so one candle might take a minute to form on a tick chart. But as soon as the market's open and there's a lot more trades occurring, then all of a sudden the candles are closing really quickly, and a candle might be forming in 5 or 10 seconds. And so it has a little bit of a volume element built in just by seeing the speed of the candles forming.
Interesting. So kind of the speed that it's happening will kind of give you the feel for directionality.
Yeah, the speed helps determine, are there a lot of players in the market, or is there a lot of liquidity, or are things just very slow and not likely to get follow through and a lot of participation?
Okay. And you're a big believer. I see you use fibs in your trading.
I do. I'm really, what I'm using is the 50%, which isn't necessarily a Fibonacci number, but I'm just using the tool to get an idea of, okay, I want to first establish, is there some sort of trend occurring? And then if there is there an opportunity to jump in that trend, not by chasing it after it's been easy to identify, but get in that trend after we've made a pullback, and maybe people are starting to look in the other direction, and I can kind of sneak in and put on a position as people aren't looking.
Okay. How do you manage risk?
So I always use stops on my position, but more importantly, I like to create sort of a safety net with a daily and a weekly stop loss, or sort of a loss limit, because a lot of people focus on the entries, and sure, with day trading, entries can be important, but what's more important is to be able to manage trades in good markets that we might have a lot of follow through. You get in a position and it really runs in the direction that you put on, but also be able to manage positions in very choppy and challenging markets where you put on a position, it only goes a point or two and then reverses. And so being able to identify those conditions that make up those two, I'm generalizing, two types of markets, by managing the number side. And so all of that management really starts with, okay,
Where are you wrong? Where are you wrong is the first question you answer. And
exactly.
Based upon that, you kind of look for entries, and the less you have to risk to find out if you're wrong, at times it's a better entry. Is that
Yes, that's exactly it. Looking for
I'm a
places.
mind reader. I'm Cresco.
That's looking for places for the market to either continue direction or break down and be changing direction, and using those points as entry points, and then if I'm in a trade, they would kind of flip and then be exit points. And so
Okay.
both managing a position from letting the market tell me, okay, this is the point to get out, as opposed to just putting an arbitrary, I'm going to trail my stop by 2 points when I get in the trade. I'd rather look for swing lows and swing highs in places that the market has pulled back and then moved beyond that level as a way to place my stops. But then kind of the next layer of that is, I need to make sure that I'm managing my positions based on the numbers, so that if things start to get wacky and all of a sudden, trading's just not going well for whatever reason, I could be having a bad day, or the market's just not really conducive to my setups for the day or for the week. I need to be able to identify that and stop the bleeding as soon as I can, because there's going to be plenty of good days, and even if they only occur 30% of the time, a great big range trending days that you get in a trade and the market's moving 10 points in 5 minutes, those days are easy to trade, but if you don't have any capital to trade them, then you're going to be sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, so I'd like to wrap it with what is most frustrating to people, and I think a lot of it has to do with them probably using too much leverage, and that's being right the market, wrong the trade, where they're right about the idea, they're not giving their trade enough breathing room because they're too over leveraged or their timing's just awful. How do you avoid that? And I know it still happens to me where my stop will get picked off and then the trade will work.
Oh yeah.
What's your method for trying to minimize that?
So I like to use the 512 tick chart for my entries sort of in conjunction with some of the larger time frames, and sort of pick out areas where there's likely to be a lot of activity, whether it's a prior support and resistance area or a breakout area, making a new high or a new low on either the day or the week, or a major high and low. And by looking for those areas, then I'm able to place positions that I feel like have higher reward, and I'm taking a calculated risk as opposed to just placing any old position in the context of maybe a less ideal environment. A traditional hammer candlestick, for example, means a whole bunch of different things depending on where it's at in the daily trend. If it could be at the top of a trend, it could be at the bottom of a trend, it could be in the middle of a range. And so as you're just like you'd be in the trading pits and looking at the guy across the pit from you and trying to read his emotions and what he's doing and what typically those signs mean, you're looking at the chart and sort of
You're looking for market tells, right? Messages.
Yeah, exactly. And so looking for opportunities to put on a position where the market's more likely to gain follow through, or let's generalize even more than that, putting on trades in a market that is likely to have better follow through, as opposed to an inside day where we have an FOMC meeting announcement in the afternoon. I'm very apt to just not trade that morning because I know that people are going to be sitting and waiting, and there's probably not going to be a breakout or any sort of movement that I can actually capitalize on.
So you really propose or are a proponent of being flat into red events like the Fed, like NFPs. You're flat.
Yep. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, definitely.
Tim, really a pleasure talking to a pro like you.
It's really enjoyable talking to you as well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I know people could follow you on Twitter at eminimind. Any other way that people that heard you today could get in touch with you?
Twitter's a great place. You can also check out my website, eminimind.com. Lots of free stuff about my trading strategy and mindset and just sort of becoming a high performer. I find that I do a lot of things outside of trading in athletics and working with my hands and carpentry and things like that, and there's a lot of parallels. So it's always nice to talk with other traders and get to know people outside of their trading, because you can bring a lot of skills into trading from the rest of your life.
Yeah, and always nice to have a community of like-minded people to
absolutely
collaborate with. When I was a young guy with a big ego, Tim, I would only want to know what other people were doing so I could fade them.
Yeah.
And after I had my teeth kicked in a few times and grew up, a great network of traders that have different skill levels and different methods is an invaluable asset to me. And
absolutely.
Listening to you edified our community in F.A.C.E today. So you're stuck with the new title. You're one of Dale Pinkert's Trading Warrior brothers.
Well, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks so much, Tim. I appreciate you getting up early on a Monday and spending time with us today. I wish you and your family, a great holiday season, and may pips rain down on you like snowflakes where you live.
Likewise.
All right, buddy. Thank you, Tim. All right, buddy.
Bye.
So Tim Racette at eMiniMind, same, and that's also his website. And we'll see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your day. And most of all, remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. You're very welcome, Forex Gal. And we'll see everyone tomorrow. Adios. Thank you, Tim.